Hi, I am Neil and I welcome you to NCS Forum, your go-to place for information that I hope are both useful and insightful to you. Today we will get into the second chapter of Marketing 101, and in this chapter we'll look at how to understand the consumer's need state, how to understand their mind space, and therefore how to position your brand or product in the consumer's mind space, basis which the marketing communication strategy is devised. So once you have positioned your brand, you will understand what to communicate, how to communicate, um, in which form to communicate, and what are the hooks, what are the drivers, what are the points or attributes that you need to hit hard on in your communication, the platforms that you will use. So everything starts from brand positioning, and for brand positioning to happen properly, you need to understand how to map the consumer's mind space or what could be the consumer's needs, and therefore arrive at what are the gaps in their need state deliveries, what are their aspirations, what are their desires, what are their fears, etc. Let's get right into it. In order to understand the consumer's need gaps, one needs to understand how he or she behaves. There are several consumer behavioral models that you can explore, and in this chapter I have listed down what I think are the top 10 according to me, that you may look into. These models are instrumental for understanding how, when, and why your customers buys the product, and by applying these models to your customer acquisition effort or to your brand communication strategy, you can actually end up accurately predicting uh, what your customer is going to buy, who are your customers actually, and therefore position your brand more accurately in your target customers mind space. Let's look at these models, at least these top 10 models, what they are, and let's try and briefly understand how each of these models work. The human mind is an extremely complex model, like a jigsaw puzzle. Understanding this is not easy at all, but a brand manager or a marketeer needs to have a basic understanding of the human mind. It's like concentric rings, which constitutes the conscious part of the mind, which is the reason, analysis, evaluation, judgment, etc., followed by the unconscious and the preconscious part of the human brain, that is the intuition, instinct, how to speak in symbols, emotions, feelings, personal archetypes, etc. And then comes the collective unconscious, which is the dreams, the myths, and the universal archetypes. Now, basis the study of this model of the human mind, there have been various consumer behavioral models that have been framed. They are broadly categorized into the traditional ones that focus on emotional, conscious, and subconscious desires, and the contemporary ones that focus on the rational and deliberate decision making processes. Traditional models include learning model, psychoanalytical model, sociological model, and the economic model, while the contemporary models include Engel, Collat, Blackwell, the EKB model, Black Box model, Hawkins Stern model, Howard Sheth model, Nicosia model, Webster and Wind model. Now let's try and look at each of these models a bit more in detail. The learning model theorizes that buyer behavior responds to desires that satisfy two basic needs in a human being. One is a survival need, like the need to eat, the need to drink, that is water, etc. And the second is what is called the learned needs. This arises from the lived experiences, and these include examples like fear, guilt, hatred, belongingness, safety, etc. This learning model is fundamentally based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm sure you would have heard of it or read about it. It's a very famous model of understanding a consumer behavior or a consumer's mind space. The Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a pyramid wherein the bottom part of the pyramid stipulates the basic needs, and the upper portion of the pyramids talk of the learned needs. You can see a diagram which is illustrated for you to understand this better. The psychoanalytical model is based on Sigmund Freud's famous psychoanalytical theory of personality. He is the father of psychoanalysis, and he has framed this model. And this model posits that every individual customer have deep rooted motives. These motives are either at a conscious level or a pre-conscious level or a completely unconscious level, which means the customer actually may not know what they want or what they need, but when they are exposed to stimuli, which is in the form of an advertisement in the TV or a hoarding or a salesperson saying something, then the customer actually comes to know, yeah, I actually wanted something like this or I need something like this. That is an unconscious state. This model is best fit for product and services that sell an image. For example, a saloon. If you go into a saloon, then you will see a picture of Shah Rukh Khan, or some other actors are kept there for a men's salon. Or if you are selling spectacles, or if you are selling garments like, for example, Raymond's, the complete man. So the starting from the tagline to the entire ad to the visuals, the theme, etc., it talks of a need to be acknowledged in the society, to look good, to garner respect, to be accepted, etc. So this is basically the main gist of the psychoanalytical model. The third among the traditional models is what we know as the sociological model. This model basically states that a consumer's purchase behavior or decision is mostly influenced by that person's position within the different sociological groups or circles that he or she is attached to. For example, family, club, office, friend circle, and much, much more. So and the choice is determined by the prevalent current trend in those respective groups. So for example, let's say a good example of this is Onida TV's ad, neighbors envy, owners pride. So this stems from a desire that I got to have this TV, and if I have this TV in my drawing room in my house, then it is I feel proud to have it, and my neighbors will envy me. So it's like a got to have. Sometimes when your colleagues or relatives come visiting you and they see a good refrigerator or a washing machine, they will ask about it, and then they go back and then they will do a research on that and probably end up buying that. Why? Because my cousin has that or my so and so has that. So this is basically about the sociological models that talks of the societal factors, community factors, interaction, relationship factors, and individual perpetrator and victim factors. All these factors impact and together combine to make this model. And now we come to the last, what I think is one of the easiest and the most interesting of all the models, whether traditional or contemporary. This is the economic model. This model says that individual consumers try to meet their needs and fulfill their desires while spending by using as little or as optimally the resources available to them. This model applies very well to low involvement, low SP products where discount plays a very crucial role. It may also apply to purchase of medicines. For example, when I purchase medicine, I always go online and compare the prices. The generic composition is the same, but each of the brands have their own price, and I will always take the least price medicine or the brand if that medicine is a regular use for me. uh, Another way of looking at this economic model is that credit card brands may promote their products to entice customers to buy a credit card if the cost of their certain medicines are very high. Like for example, a cancer drug that costs upwards of maybe a lakh or two, and the credit card company may wish to position that card by tying up with hospitals and other pharmaceutical brands by saying that this is the one card that you need to use to purchase your credit card. So this is all about the economic model. And now let us look at some of the contemporary models. Now that we have looked at some of the traditional consumer buying behavioral models, let's look at the more contemporary ones. These contemporary models work on or are based on the fundamental premise that the consumers make a purchase or decide to make a purchase basis certain rational and information led decisions. Let's look at them. Here I have outlined five of them. Let's start with the EKB model. The Engel Collad Blackwell or the EKB model outlines a five-stage decision-making process that consumers go through before or during purchasing a product or service. These five stages are awareness, information processing, evaluation, purchasing decision, and outcome analysis. Awareness means the consumers become aware after viewing a marketing communication advert or a billboard or something about a brand and become aware of their need, desire, or interest to buy or not buy a particular product. When we look what say about information processing, it means that after discovery, that is after becoming aware, the consumer begins to think of how the product relates to their past experience of need fulfillment and begins to contemplate whether this one will fulfill any of the current need gaps or not. Evaluation, consumer now starts to do more research on this product. Purchasing decision, after a successful evaluation, the consumer will now proceed to buying this product and check it out. If he or she remains unsatisfied, then they may end up in changing their minds and the consumer's interaction involved with the brand stops here. If the evaluation or purchase post-purchase is good, then it comes to outcome analysis where the trial period is over. The consumers will think through on the brand experience, positive, negative. If positive, the consumer will become a loyal user of the brand. If negative, the interactions will stop here completely. Next comes the black box model, also called as the stimulus response model. It says that customers are individual decision makers and thinkers that process internal as well as external stimuli in order to make purchase decisions. This is illustrated in the graph that I have shown you here, which talks of the various stages of this model, primarily the stimuli, the transformation process, the response. It may seem a bit complicated, but it actually works in a fairly straightforward way. In this model, consumers discover a brand through a particular stimuli. Could be a TV ad, radio ad, a billboard or something, newspaper ad. Then they observe and absorb the brand's features, which is presented in that communication message. It tries to understand the values and attributes. Then they process this on this mind and they look at experience, they compare with past experience, current need gap, etc. And then they decide whether to choose to buy or not to buy this product. The Hawkins-Stern impulse buying model. This model is can be considered as an alternative or kind of an amalgamation of the learning, the economic and the EKV models as a whole. As this model hypothesizes that purchases are not always the result of a rational thought or a known need gap. Rather, consumers also end up buying on an impulse. Now, when we think of impulse purchase, we think that a candy or a small price of 50 paisa chocolate. No, not entirely. What we mean to say here is that the model categorizes an impulse purchase into four categories. Escape purchase, wherein it's a pure impulse purchase that involves a purchase of a product that is not in the shopping list, so as to say. Here, appealing visuals, high impact, attention seeking slogans play a crucial role. Reminder purchase. In this purchase type, a consumer comes across a product through a well placed kiosk or a strategically placed advertorial or upfront shelf display. Suggested purchase. Suggested impulse purchase is quite interesting. It happens when a consumer is made aware of a product, features, attributes, which is FAB, feature, advantage, benefit, or a service
from a recommendation message that comes from an in-store salesperson or online algorithms. For example, those who bought this particular TV also bought this particular stereo speaker system. This suggested purchase process gives an opportunity for a salesperson to upsell or increase the ticket value or the bill value. Consumer did know of this product's existence earlier, so had no desire to purchase. But after this stimuli, this explanation, the consumer may end up buying this speaker system also if to add on to the experience of the TV viewing. Planned purchase is the last of the impulse purchase categories. Planned purchase says that although by definition plan means exact opposite of impulse, this model exists because there are numerous cases wherein the shopping, like for example, while shopping or groceries or a home utility item, wherein good deal or discount makes the consumer pick up more of that product or that product on an impulse. The Harvard Shake model is again unique in its approach, which states that buying is primarily and highly rational, methodical, and well thought out decision making process. This model believes that customers always put on a problem solving hat, so as to say, every single time he or she wants to buy a product through a three level decision making process: extensive problem solving, limited problem solving, and habitual response behavior. To me, this is by far the most interesting approach to a consumer buying behavioral understanding, which is the Nicosia model. This model is completely antithesis or polar opposite to whatever the other models say. This model emphasizes that business comes first and before the consumer. A consumer comes only a close second. It argues that the brand's marketing messages determine whether the customer will buy this product or not. Lastly, we come to the Webster and Wynn model of organizational buying behavior. I have included this because even though the marketing one-on-one talks of consumer buying behavior, I wanted a small note on a B2B buying behavior process. Like for example, you are in a brand or you work in a company that sells products to other organizations. How would you market that? So you can use the Webster and Wynn model of organizational buying behavior, which is more of a B2B product or service model. And it states that there are four major variables that affect whether an organization makes a purchase decision or not. Environmental variable like external factors like buyer supply relationship, competitive pressure, price elasticity of the product category, etc. Organizational variables, which refers to the internal factors such as the organizational goals, the evaluation criteria, the processes, the philosophy, and the values. This is about your customer organization, that is. Buying center variables is talks of who makes the final purchase decision, who has the signing authority, and who influences the purchase. And lastly, the individual variables. This refers to the demographic, socio-economic, psychographic profiling or information of the main individual prospect at your customer's company or business. What's their education and experience levels, and therefore what could be their goals and desires that will allow you to customize the product or service for that organization through your target individual.
See, at the end of it all, there is no one single great strategy, or a one single model that fits all of everyone's brand strategies. It's consumers' mind space is extremely complex. We all know that, and I believe that there are two types of behaviors within a consumer's mind. One that is outwardly expressed, and the second one that is inwardly repressed. Uh, it's more like a onion with several concentric rings, and that floats in the ocean. So these outwardly expressed and inwardly repressed behavioral traits, some of it are superficial and therefore visible easily. Some of it are superficial at conscious, some are at unconscious or subconscious level. Then majority of them are inwardly repressed. So as you go deep inside and start peeling off layer after layer after layer of the consumer's mind, then you will move from outwardly expressed superficial to what is called the deep rooted, repressed, the needs and the desires and the emotions. Now this is the point, the center point, the deep rooted point, which is not visible at all, is something that every brand manager or marketing manager desires to target. If you have got this target right, if you have hit the bullseye, then your brand communication strategy will be 100% successful.